Hello and good morning everyone, and thank you for joining our Citrix NetScaler SD-WAN webinar today. So we're joined here by Justin Thorogood from Citrix, who will be presenting the webinar today. So just to mention that Bytes are a Citrix Gold partner. We've got a specialised team internally who've worked with the technology for over 10 years now, and we're seeing lots of traction in our customer base with SD-WAN. Also, just to mention that some of the NetScaler appliances are going end of life next year, so please do contact your Bytes account manager or email the email address there, vteam@bytes.co.uk, if you would like any more information on this.
Thanks, Amy. Just let me know, can you see my screen okay?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Super. Good morning, everybody. So my name's Justin Thorogood. So I look after business development for our channel for Northern Europe for our networking products. And it gives me great pleasure today to give you probably around about 40 minutes on SD-WAN, what it's all about, and how Citrix is involved in this space, and why Citrix, we believe, is the right solution for all of you on the call. So without further ado, first of all, it's key to note that I think we all realise that the way applications are delivered has changed significantly over the course of the last 5 years. I think probably many of you on the call are consuming some kind of public cloud service, whether that be in Azure or an AWS or many others. And actually, it's actually sourced, so according to Okta, it's around about 44% of all enterprise traffic is going through some form of cloud service. So pretty significant, and it's expanding. So the average organization today, average enterprise, is using probably around about 13 applications, and that's looking to increase. But not just that, we're also looking at how application data is being formed and created. And I'm sure you're all hearing the buzzword around IoT. You know, we've been hearing about how different appliances, you know, things like heating, smart lighting, it's all creating traffic, and this traffic's pretty bandwidth intensive. And with it forecasted to be around about 20 billion IoT devices by 2020, you can see that the number of network connected devices is looking to significantly increase. So why are you talking to Citrix about something which you would probably refer to as networking? Well, it's pretty straightforward. We're in a unique position here in the SD-WAN market. So rather than approaching this from a networking first perspective, which many of the vendors have done, we're actually an application and software first organization. We're the #1 provider, as you're probably all aware, of virtualized applications in that enterprise space, plus the enterprise class data and file cloud services that we have, and our incumbent networking business with NetScaler and our identity management and remote access solutions means that we are actually in a very good position to deliver that kind of high quality and secure access to applications, regardless of where they're hosted or how they're delivered. So, and with adding our SD-WAN expertise, we're actually leveraging that technical knowledge that we've built up over the last 29 years, where we've been delivering applications to over 100 million users and around 400,000 organizations, and really learned as to what it is that they require to deliver that kind of secure, high quality and always on access for applications data, but also the flexibility to be able to deliver it, whether it be on premise, whether it be in the cloud, or delivered via a hybrid infrastructure, which I think is the end goal for many of us, to be honest. So what is SD-WAN? Effectively, it's as it says here, a software-defined wide area network. So effectively, we're taking our virtualization skills we've learned from the applications and desktop arena, and we're now applying that to the wide area network to provide a network, hopefully that's secure, highly available, and provides a consistent, good user experience. So we really help IT approach these issues with a vision for a service delivery network, so that we can aggregate multiple connection methods. And we'll explain how that works very shortly. So the key components that we see is that the delivery of an SD-WAN solution across your wide area network, first and foremost, that solution has to be application aware. It has to be aware of the applications that are going across the wide area network from branch to headquarters. It's a solution that needs to be highly available, of course. We need to maximize the amount of bandwidth available. So if you've got multiple points of connectivity, we actually want to utilize all of the bandwidth, not just some of it, but potentially integrating multiple networking services. So what I mean by that is there is an opportunity with SD-WAN to consolidate multiple functions at the branch. And I'll go into a little bit more detail about that in a moment. Plus, we've got many customers who have been asking for branch offices to have direct connectivity to the cloud. Potentially, you've got multiple applications that are hosted up there, and what you don't want is costly data backhauling through your data center and having to invest in significant firewall infrastructure in that location. So of course, with all of these, it needs to be coupled with a solution that's easy to manage, but most importantly, needs to be secure. So we really see SD-WAN, and the analysts agree, that it can be an enabler for your corporate strategy for 2018. So what are the key use cases that we're seeing and where we've won significant opportunity with? Well, what we're going to do is, rather than me read through a list verbatim, I'm actually going to go through these one by one. So first and foremost, the initial premise of SD-WAN is to provide that always-on branch connectivity. And the realization is that connectivity invariably is unreliable at some point. And the statistics that we've certainly been provided are the differing types of service that you have delivered. Effectively, you pay for what you get. So when it comes to an MPLS line, as an example, you're probably getting 3 nines availability, maybe 4 nines at a stretch. But at some point, there is going to be some kind of failure. That could be a brownout, or it could be a complete blackout. And what does your business do in that situation? What business continuity plans do you have in place? Are you potentially having to leverage a DSL link, but potentially unsecurely? Potentially you're sending data across that public internet link that you really don't want to do. So you need some form of solution to provide a brokerage between those points. So what SD-WAN provides from NetScaler is a virtual path that allows you to traverse data over multiple links. Now, what we're actually doing is we're actually understanding the different types of connectivity, what's going on those links. So we've got to take into account things like jitter, latency, packet loss, and congestion, so that we can make intelligent decisions at any given time as to what is the most appropriate route for that application traffic to take. So if you are having some form of problems, maybe you are having significant packet loss on a link. Obviously, that doesn't look good if you've got potentially a real-time application of some description. You need to make changes through that software-defined element that I mentioned, and it needs to be instantaneous. It needs to be sub-second failover, sub-millisecond failover, and for that failure not to be seen by the users using their critical application. So effectively, we can make on-the-fly decisions based upon the application's importance, what would be that second or third point of connection. And as I said, it is completely invisible to the users, and providing you with full control over that bandwidth. So effectively, we can do things like tuning. So if you've got certain critical applications and you want that application to always go down the MPLS first and foremost, and then there's a backup to go over the internet, you want to have full visibility and control as to exactly what is going on. So no longer is that connectivity piece that sits between your two sites invisible. You've got complete visibility of all of your applications and taking control of that quality of service, if you like. So you've got that element of control as well. Now, of course, before I go any further, it is assumed that all of those connections will be secured. So all traffic that traverses those links is actually encrypted using UDP. So any kind of credit card information or personal data, although going over a public internet link, is not visible to the public internet. Now, of course, I'm sure all of you have deployed some form of bandwidth intensive application. Skype for Business is a great example of this. We've seen customers that have deployed Skype for Business very successfully, and in conjunction with our SD-WAN solution, it works incredibly well, because effectively we can maximize the amount of bandwidth available, whether it's MPLS or whether it's internet. Now, of course, we mentioned about jitter, and jitter to voice is pretty awful when you're experiencing it, and pretty awful if you're on the phone to a customer at the time. So what we can do is we can do rating or usage-based links. Maybe we don't want to use a link because it's got some kind of limit on it, but also we want the ability to be able to use multiple links for a single session. So where I use the example there of a real-time application, or potentially this could be voice or video, we could actually send that traffic down 2 links simultaneously. Now, the beauty of this is that whichever packet arrives first, effectively it drops that second packet. So what actually happens is we get a completely redundant IP telephony or unified communications infrastructure with video, which is pretty compelling for many, especially if you're the victim of a remote site with a limited connectivity. So we can all of a sudden start using that backup link that historically was kind of there for emergency purposes. We can make that link live and effectively make use of that bandwidth. So the net effect with that for this virtual path is that we make more usable and efficient bandwidth use. So what Gartner have been telling us as a vendor is that it is our responsibility to actually get out and speak to our Zenap and Zen-Desktop customers, because the increase in visibility across the wide area network and the improvement in performance for the users actually using the application is of paramount importance. And obviously, any remote branches you've got with poor connectivity delivers a poor Citrix experience in many circumstances. So, with Gartner telling us that that's our responsibility, let me just explain very quickly how that solution works. So we've got our clients that are connecting through the branch office, connecting to their Citrix farm, and that could be in one or multiple locations, or potentially even in the cloud. What we're able to do is we're actually able, using our HDX protocol, is that we are actually able to split the different functions of a Citrix session down different pipes. So we could be sending the file and print traffic down one link, we could be sending the screen refreshes down another, and potentially leveraging a third connection. This could be a 4G as an example. We could be sending the mouse movements down that connection. So what we're actually doing is we're providing complete redundancy for that Citrix session, and full redundancy again should one of those links fail. So again, it's about providing a superior HDX experience, and obviously happy users at the branch is hopefully the net result. So this use case is unique to us as Citrix, and I cannot emphasize that enough. And of course, having full visibility of the complete user session is something that historically we couldn't provide, because as soon as that information went out across the service provider's link, we lose an element of visibility. So this is pretty compelling for a lot of our Citrix Zenap and Zen-Desktop customers. So we can always talk about cost savings, and this is a use case which is very prevalent in the Americas markets, where we've been very successful, and in Asia Pac, where connectivity is quite expensive. But it's no word of a lie. The WAN is a very expensive part of your budget, and obviously we spoke a lot about downtime before, which is a significant challenge. So what we can do is, by making the best effort network suitable for enterprise use, we could potentially dial down the amount of MPLS required. So we could start sending some of the wireless WAN, so maybe guest traffic down a different link as an example, to reduce the reliance on our primary MPLS. But I wouldn't say this is a use case that we lead with, but it's a nice net result that potentially you aren't so reliant on that MPLS connectivity, and you could be utilizing much cheaper, more readily available internet, LTE or 4G or satellite traffic. So moving on, cloud migration. I'm sure many of you are considering moving to some form of cloud service. You may have already moved some of your applications out. So what we have done is we've been working very hard with our friends at Microsoft and at AWS to provide a full virtualized experience with our SD-WAN solution. So effectively putting a virtualized application and a virtualized SD-WAN into the cloud, and actually providing that full bandwidth availability and redundancy service, but of course retaining the visibility across those links. Now, we actually are able, with our solution in the cloud, if you have an on-premise solution included, we have something called zero-touch deployment. So effectively, we can push a configuration straight out to the cloud and fire that up, whether it be in an elastic way, so you have that as a redundant solution, or maybe that application is completely live. Zero touch just enables us to minimize the amount of disruption when you're firing that environment up. And of course, we have full visibility of everything that's happening from that cloud piece of infrastructure. So what does that look like? Very simple. So what we're doing is we're actively managing the cloud traffic to ensure that reliability for those applications that are hosted in AWS and Azure, and it gives you that complete flexibility that you require. Now, I mentioned internet offload. So this again is another use case that we've seen. So where you wish to start to segregate different types of traffic. So you want certain traffic, your web and SaaS applications, potentially to go out through the local link, but you want all of your other applications or sub-applications to go out through the MPLS or the secondary connection. So we're working in collaboration with Zscaler and ForcePoint. There are other secure web gateway services available where you've got that web firewall functionality sitting in front of your SaaS provider. Effectively, we can start to block and allow certain types of traffic. And as I said, you can retain complete control. So the example here is with Facebook, where you may allow Facebook to be accessed, but you don't want people using chat, as an example. So what we can do, as I said, is pushing that internet traffic, not backhauling that through the data center, which can be quite costly if you've got a significant firewall infrastructure in your data center to provide internet service to your users. Because effectively, you want to take an element of control as to what they're looking at, what they can and cannot do. This just gives you another option, and quite a desirable option in this case. So, in terms of how SD-WAN is formed, I'm just going to give you a very quick overview. So first and foremost, we spent a lot of time talking about the virtual WAN element of SD-WAN. So this is about the availability, the reliability, quality and security of your traffic, and utilizing as much of the bandwidth as you possibly can. But the second element I did mention was WAN optimization. So we may want to choose the path based on a particular application and prioritize it and provide it with more bandwidth. But we may also want to compress the traffic because it's ineffective going across the WAN. So things like file and print traffic, CIFS traffic, exchange traffic, we may still want to compress that traffic as it goes across that link. So coupled with a WAN optimization, it creates quite a compelling solution from a branch office to the HQ. And the fact that these two can be consolidated onto the same device means that potentially you could be reducing another appliance in your branch. Now, we can deliver on the appliance also an element of routing. So for OSPF functionality, all of the typical routing protocols that you would expect. And so if you do have a low-end routing device that potentially could be consolidated at a later date, then the SD-WAN appliance is capable of delivering that too. But last but not least, at the branch, you've probably got a small solution for firewall. So you want some kind of stateful firewall. You want to secure hosts and ports. You want static and dynamic NAT. Potentially, you want to enable firewalls for encrypted traffic. But effectively, what we do here is we define zones to enforce different policies for different users. And there is basically a single point of management across the entire network, so you don't have to be creating this branch by branch. Effectively, we want to be able to provision, troubleshoot, and analyze all of the routing, all of the security, the WAN optimization of virtual WAN through a single interface, which is what you're able to do with the central management and visibility tool, the SD-WAN Center product. So a full WAN Edge product that can deliver all of this functionality on a single device. So hopefully that represents some cost savings, hopefully some further reduction in your branch of the amount of infrastructure that you have. So after all this, why Citrix? So it's pretty simple. First and foremost, as I said, we've been in the market for 28 years delivering, a user experience optimization, with our virtual app and desktop delivery technologies. They say the product is mature. We've been in the market now for over 18 months. We're actually on the third revision of code, very, very stable. We're actually into some significant retailers and finance houses where they really have thrown everything in the kitchen sink to ensure that the product is stable, is available and redundant. And from what we can see, and from the POCs that we've taken part in, the customer feedback that we've had is that actually we've got the most comprehensive solution in this WAN Edge space. So currently, 9 out of 10 opportunities that we're involved in, where we get involved with the customer early, we're winning those opportunities. Now, we've already mentioned about Citrix on Citrix, so the ability to be able to push Citrix traffic down multiple links and define, whether you want audio and display going down different links, that is a true USP for us as Citrix, and you will not find that from another SD-WAN vendor. So hopefully a good reason to kick that conversation off with Bytes and Citrix. As I mentioned, it is cloud ready. It is fully certified on Microsoft Azure and AWS. So if you want to have a play, please feel free. The management platform actually is consistent across all of our NetScaler products. So if you already are a NetScaler ADC or a gateway customer, with our NetScaler monitoring and analytics system, MAS, the solution actually provides a single management console for all of our NetScaler range. So all of your fleet management, all of your updates, your reporting, your visibility tools, everything is consistent. And last but not least, of course, we do have different consumption models, whether you buy from Bytes as a service provider or whether you buy on a resale model. We do have different consumption models to cater for your different businesses. So what I always say is, don't just take my word for it. Please feel free to go away and do your homework. Do go and try it out for yourselves. The solution is available for download. So if you want to go and have a tinker, please feel free. My suggestion would be is that you do contact Bytes and maybe get some advice as to how to set the product up, at least with the bare minimum functionality. But if you do want to organize a more formal POC, you want to test this critical functionality, whether it be with your Citrix environment or whether it be with your critical applications, I do implore you to try it. If you do need some more information around the different use cases, there are other use cases that I haven't mentioned, or if you want more information around other customers in your space that have deployed it, we would be more than happy to provide case studies or a customer call to help progress that conversation with you. Now, I do realise that we've whizzed through that pretty quickly, and in around about 25 minutes, in fact. So at this point, I'd like to invite any questions that may have come in during the session, Amy. Have we got any questions so far?
Brilliant, thanks, Justin. Okay, yep, so as mentioned at the beginning, if you do have any questions, there is a questions box just at the right-hand side. So I will read those out for you as they come through. And if there are any that we can't answer, we can take them offline. So there is one question already. So it says, how is this solution going to handle non-Citrix data such as CCTV?
Okay, so I mean, this is effectively going to be video traffic, and I'm assuming that this traffic is already compressed. So we're not effectively going to be kind of compressing that in any form. But what we can do is, depending on how important that traffic is to you, we can dual stream that down multiple links, or potentially providing a backup for that. But in the event that the MPLS fails, then obviously the CCTV will go down the second link if needs be. It sounds like I think we probably need to do a little bit more qualification around that question. So Uditha, we'd be more than happy to take that conversation offline if you've got some more questions around that. But that's a great question and not one I've had before. So I'd happily do some additional digging for you to get you a more rounded answer on that, because we'd love to find out who the CCTV provider is as an example, the type of traffic it generates. But absolutely, it could provide a redundant solution for you across a second link. That is without a shadow of a doubt.
Brilliant, thanks, Justin. Okay, if we just wait a couple more minutes, see if any questions come through. Also, there is an email address there if you want to contact our team of specialists directly. The email address is vteam@bytes.co.uk. Oh, so Ajith has just said, can it support multi-tenancy?
I think what we're going to have to do is take that one offline, because that could mean many different things. Because we've got multi-tenancy if a service provider was selling it, or multi-tenancy based upon particular applications and role-based access. So we probably need a little bit more information around that, I think. So, I mean, Aditya, if you can share your contact details afterwards, potentially let's organise a call and discuss your requirement in a little bit more detail, because obviously you're moving in a certain direction here, and I'd love to kind of understand a little bit more about what your infrastructure looks like and how you would consider deploying it. More than happy to take the discussion offline.
Okay, thanks, Justin. So there's another question here. This one's from Brian. Says, can this replace QoS, CoS for on our WAN link for priority of traffic?
Okay. So I think you're referring to kind of quality of service markings. I'm assuming you've probably got some kind of unified communications infrastructure and you're prioritizing, you're looking at prioritizing voice over a link. Again, there's probably a little bit more detail that we can go into there. So I probably would, Brian, like to take that one offline as well, just to understand what it is that you're using quality of service for. I'm assuming it's for IP telephony. So in the case of lease plan, what they've done is, I don't think they've changed the quality of service parameters per se, but what they have done is that they've used the dual streaming functionality, so that all kind of voice and video traffic is dual streamed down multiple links. And as I said, the packet then gets trashed. But I'm not an SE, so I would like to get a more defined answer there for you, Brian, if I may.
Okay, thanks, Justin. And yes, so Brian, we will be in touch with some further details for you on that one. So if there are any questions, just pop them in the questions box. If we just wait one more minute. Okay, so I think that's all the questions we've got today. So thank you everyone for joining the webinar today and taking the time out of your busy schedules. And thank you so much, Justin, as well, sorry, for presenting. As mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, there is a really short feedback form at the end, just 3 questions. So if you would like any more information, if you just pop that in there, one of our specialists will be in touch with you. Okay, so thanks again, everyone, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.